pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everybody for coming this evening. I don't know for sure why everybody's here, but I think I know why. So with that, we'll get right into it. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Spurling. Here. Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Hines. Trustee Youngerman.
Yay.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Here.
All right, the first item under public participation, we have public comment. This is a 2-minute opportunity. Any member of the public can address the board about any topic at all.
Okay.
All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to the most important part of the evening, is the swearing in of Police Sergeant Jake Neat. And with that, I'll ask the Chief of Police to come to the podium.
Thank you, Village President and Board of Trustees. Tonight, I'd like to introduce Officer Jacob Neat, standing to my right here. On May 27, 2015, the Police Commission promoted Jake, effective May 31st, to Sergeant. So please welcome Sergeant Jacob Neat. In 1996 through 1999, Jake was on the Illinois State Redbirds football team. And in 1999, he received his Bachelor's of Science degree in criminal justice from Illinois State. In March of 2007, Jake was hired as a police officer here. And since then, Jake has been active in ILEAS, Mobile Field Force, our gang officer, field training officer, and very active even today in the gang. So please welcome Jake Neat. Also, in the audience, multiple friends and family and neighbors from their neighborhood. His wife, Sergeant Liz Palco Neat. Baby Lucy. Jake and Liz just had their firstborn in May of 2015. Also, niece and nephew, Jackson and Carson. So please come forward.
That is so awesome. It is.
Look at that.
Go Redbirds.
There you go. All right. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Jake Neat, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Sergeant of Police to the best of my ability. Congratulations, Sergeant.
Any comment about the outfit? Should have pink bow, but that's all right.
Get him, Liz.
In approximately 17 and a half years, baby Lucy will be entering college to earn her criminal justice degree. Everybody needs to see baby Lucy's outfit, please.
That's awesome.
Congratulations, Sergeant.
All right, thank you all for coming. You can certainly hang out for our entire meeting that should last a few hours, but you don't have to. No problem. We'll take just a brief second here.
Fool me once.
Wow.
And now we can get down to business.
I was going to say, Stan, thank you for bringing your wife tonight.
And the sole survivor is.
Do you want to close those doors, just so we can, I'm sure they're going to have some fun out there.
It's too late now, they've all left.
All right, third item for public participation, I'll turn it over to Jeff for an introduction.
Just like to introduce our new Director of Public Works, Todd Hoppenstedt, who joined us today. So I'd like to welcome him and very happy to have him here.
Figured that would be good to do at the beginning of the meeting, so we can call on you and,
There will be a quiz in 2 weeks, so, yeah.
Told him I would handle the items tonight, but after that,
sounds good, thank you, welcome. All right, that'll move on to the, nice, we locked them out. The consent agenda. I will read the items and entertain a motion for approval. Minutes of the village board meeting from June 22nd. Accounts payable through July 9th. The building report for June of 2015. Accounts receivable report for June of 2015. And the cancellation of the July 21st Committee of the Whole meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yay.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes?
Trustee Spurling? Yes. Trustee Lee?
Yep.
Trustee Heinz?
That carries 6-0, thank you. Moving on, items for separate action. Item A, we have a request from Rulin Food Service for a waiver of the temporary liquor license fee for a Fox Valley Park District event. And with that, I will ask Chief of Police Dan Myers if you have anything to add on this.
No, I don't.
we'll say they did make this request last year when they did their zombie run, and we did grant them a waiver at that point, so just for some background.
Have we done, and last year, the waiver of the fee was for the Park District, I know we're splitting hairs here, and this time it's a waiver for Rulin's. Have we done that? I guess Oktoberfest, we did the same thing,
Correct.
because it was,
Really, the Park District Rulin's is the one they had requested, since Rulin's will be the one serving.
yeah. So this is not unprecedented for us. Okay, if there are any questions for staff, I'll take them, otherwise a motion would be,
Second.
call the roll, please.
Trustee Heinz? Trustee Youngerman?
Yay.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling? Yes. Trustee Lee?
Yes.
And that carries 6-0. Moving on to item B, we have a request from the Montgomery Foundation for a waiver of the temporary liquor license fee for Montgomery Fest. In your packet, you should have received the letter from the foundation, from the president, Marion Bond, who's with us today, that could answer some questions, and I'm sure others of us can also answer some of those. But if you have any questions, comments about the request this evening?
I have one, just one request. Because I noticed that it references that no one under 21 during the evening hours.
Yes.
Is there a time? Is it a judge? I know we're not splitting hairs, but is that who's deciding? Is it going to be signage that says after 6 o'clock? No underage people?
I believe, and I don't know that for sure, that the time would be predetermined before the event, but it hasn't been determined today. The foundation's meeting with the police department on Wednesday to kind of go over that, but we would set that at some defiable time, I think, so that everybody's aware of that going into it.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
I will abstain. I'm on the board of directors for that group. I cannot benefit personally, but it just seems like abstention is a good choice, so.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yep.
Trustee Heinz? Trustee Youngerman?
Yay.
All right, that carries 5-0 or 6-0, however you count it. Thank you. Thank you, Marion, for coming. You also can stay for the whole meeting.
She doesn't have a ride.
All right, I'll move on to item C, which is ordinance 1673, amending the village code, chapter 16, section 16, dash 613, sorry, custody of lost, abandoned, stolen property. This is a waiver of the first reading and passage on the second. With that, I will turn it over to the chief again.
Thank you very much. As the president said, in your packet tonight is the amendment to Chapter 16, Section 16-13. If you recall, 3 or 4 years ago, we discussed PropertyRoom.com. They recently have changed their rules, and they're no longer taking bikes. So currently, we have approximately 10 bikes in our storage lot behind the PD. Tonight, I'm asking for your vote to amend this section to give myself or our evidence custodian or deputy chief permission to dispose of the bikes either through, if there's no value, we'll just recycle them. If there's a value, we'll go to Salvation Army or another place to donate the bikes. That's the best way. I hate to see good bikes sit out in the back or come in where they're rusted and they're not functional anymore. So this gives the authority to myself or the deputy chief or our evidence custodian bikes that are valued under $100 to get rid of right away instead of, just clogging up the back there.
And this is outside of or after any sort of period that you would be required to hold on to abandoned property?
That's correct. We have to hold this type property for 6 months.
Okay. Any questions of the chief?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Discussion, I would give the department a little more latitude. Any charity, any recognized charity is satisfactory with me, not just the Salvation Army.
And what does the,
Actually, that's what it says.
Any charity?
Yes.
Perfect.
good point. There's no other discussion, call the roll, please.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yay.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yep.
Trustee Heinz?
Thank you. That carries 6-0. Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Item D is the award of contract to Geneva Construction for the 2015 MFT road construction. And with that, Engineer Wallers, do you have a summary there?
Thank you. We took bids for the local portion of our MFT and had two bidders, Geneva Construction, Builders Paving. The low bidder was Geneva Construction, came in slightly over engineer's estimate, about 13%. I did review the bids in detail. I think the unit prices are generally consistent with our engineer's estimate. There's a little bit of cost creep on some of the items, but nothing that would be alarming. I think both bids were competitive. The other part of this, if you may recall, this is our local roads and maintenance program. It also includes a salt component. And we did receive some good news. When we set the program up, we had anticipated the salt would be $110 per ton. It looks like we're going to get somewhere in the 60s per ton. So we're going to have a huge savings there. So, I mean, from a budget standpoint, it's going to come in under our maintenance budget, but this part of it is slightly over. So we don't see any reason to not pursue the bid. There's no unbalanced items. We have a good contractor, and I believe the bids are competitive. So with that, I'd make a request to ask for a motion to approve the low bidder.
Questions?
Happy to answer any.
Thank you.
Motion to approve?
I have a question, quick
Hold on one
question.
second. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Die. Second by Youngerman, no discussion. Go ahead.
No, I was asking a question. This is for work throughout the whole village, correct?
This is going to be, and this is the program that was brought here for approval by the board in April, and this is going to be Red Fox Run, Ridgemont Court, and Sherman Avenue. And it was some areas that we wanted to tidy up with the local MFT.
Okay, thank you.
Did I hear you correctly when you said that our new salt per ton price is in the 60 range as opposed to what we paid last year, 110 or 102 or whatever it was?
We got included in the state bid this year instead of getting left out, and so it came
Very
in the
good.
60s.
Okay, thank you.
One other comment would be the MFT funding. I know that the state currently doesn't have a budget. I heard word last week that we're not going to be getting our MFT distribution until the budget gets settled. So I'd ask staff how that impacts us, if you want to just summarize that.
Certainly. We currently have a fund balance of around $360,000 in the MFT fund, which is sufficient, as you can see, to handle this project. Then hopefully the state will iron out its issues and we can, go back to resuming getting our MFT. But for now, we have enough on hand to handle this.
Yeah, I'll send you that email. Okay. If there are no other comments, questions, call the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Yes?
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz? Trustee Youngerman?
Yay.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
And that carries 6-0. Moving on, item E, award of a contract for Mill Street Bridge construction to MYS Incorporated. And I'll go back to Engineer Wallers.
Thank you, Mayor. So on July 2nd, we took bids for the bridge rehab. It's basically going to be scarification of our bridge deck on Mill. There's some areas that were identified when they did the survey that are, I think it was a thermographic survey, so sort of some voids in the bridge deck that we need to scarify the deck, repair those, and then put a new deck onto the bridge to prolong its life. So bids were taken for that work. It also included repainting of the parapet walls and the arch panels that are along the river. The low bidder was about 16% over the engineer's estimate. When we took a closer look at the bridge, it appeared that there was one item on the bid that was different, substantially different than what we had provided in the engineer's estimate, and that was for the concrete coating. It's a bit of a specialty item, so when you look at a lot of the bridge costs that you'll find at IDOT's database, you won't see concrete coating there because it's not all the time done on bridges. So we did talk to some vendors beforehand, and we had 6 plan holders, but we only had 2 bidders. There's a lot of bridge work going on, so I think it's just one where we put, I think, too low of a unit price for that item. Again, one of the things that we look at is, do we get competitive bids? Are there any items that are unusual? And then, do we get any advantage by rebidding it? I don't think we do in this case. I think it serves our interest to pursue it. I'd like to get that bridge deck fixed as soon as practical, because the longer you wait, it's like a cavity underneath there. You don't really know what's going on, and we may open this up and find out we've got more of a cavity there, and there'd be a little bit more filling in there anyway. So I think the overage is attributed to really one item on our engineer's estimate, but I think the bids were competitive, and we did. MYS has not done work for us in the village, but we did check references, and they all came back good. So again, we would recommend award of the contract to MYS.
Pete, the bridge will be closed after the fest for how long?
For about a month. So we've got a detour as part of it set up, and we've used it before when we've done some work on the bridge. And we'll be taken down to Ashland and then back around. So, and we did consider partial closures, but with the proximity to Mill Street and Route 25, it's really just difficult to set up a one-lane bridge system. And you do lose some economies and some efficiency by trying to do things under traffic. So we think it's the best way to go. So 2 weeks after Montgomery Fest, basically, we're going to start the bridge work.
I have a question on item 5, the cleaning existing scuppers. The engineering is at 500. the one bidder is at 700, and the MYS is at 100?
So the scuppers, as you know, they're just drains. And so it's just cleaning them out. When you start looking, you drill into the details, where did the contractor put some of their overhead costs, so you can see those kind of variations, in the bid. That doesn't worry me too much because it's a pretty minor item. And he may be also thinking that there's really not a lot of cleaning to be done with the scuppers, and he's probably right, so.
Okay, thank you.
This is one of those items, I think we had talked about this originally when this project was brought up. But this is one of those items that, now that the new tax is in effect, this was considered a shovel-ready item or construction-ready, and this is, now we have something tangible to show the residents, hey, we're using your money wisely, and we're starting to make use of this as quickly as possible. So, thank you.
Have we addressed, 'cause I know we talked about this back with Mike, about signage or anything, about that this is a project that's being funded by the,
So on this project, what our plan is, every time we do an infrastructure-funded project, or I'm not sure what we're going to call our infrastructure fund, but, the non-home rule sales tax fund, we'll have for the bridge, we'll have 2 signs that will be made, and then those will be delivered to Public Works at the conclusion of the project, and then we'll reuse those at the next job. And so what our vision is that we'll have 2 for this project, and then when we do a resurfacing project next year, we probably get 2 or 4 more, depending on how many we want to show. And then those signs will come back to the Public Works Department and then be held there, and then they'll just be reused for all of our future jobs.
okay, yeah, I think Trustee Youngman pointed it out, and it's great that the public be able to see it and understand that this is exactly what the funds are being used for, as they're cursing about driving around the bridge.
Certainly. Any other questions? Did we have a motion on this yet?
So moved.
Now we do.
Second?
Second. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yay.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes?
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Heinz.
Carries 6-0. Thank you, Pete. All right, we'll move on to 2 vehicles. Item F, award of a contract to purchase one 2016 Ford Explorer. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff for a summary.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and cover items F and G while I'm talking about them. If you remember, during the budget talks, we came and presented the vehicles to you that we were looking to replace. We went ahead with 2 of them for snowplow reasons. We went ahead in order to get done. We were kind of holding on the others. Alan Duncan, our fleet mechanic, approached both Justin and I to talk about these 2 vehicles. He's recently had some mechanical issues with them. When we had the discussion with the board, we labeled the vehicles high, medium, low. These were both high-priority vehicles. So I talked about with Justin. If you'll recall, due to the state's budget issues, we put a hold on some items. One of those items was transferring any new money from the general fund into the vehicle reserve fund. But talking to Justin, we do currently have money already in the vehicle reserve fund from past contributions that would cover these 2 vehicles. So with that, we're bringing this forward to see about moving forward with both purchases. The first one is for community development, replace one of those vehicles, and then the second one is for Public Works to replace one of their pickups, one of their utility vehicles over there. So, and with that, I would answer any questions you may have.
So Jeff,
Yes.
there's a whole attachment on a police interceptor.
Yes, and I asked.
Were you not supposed to have that?
No, that's the model that they're getting for the one. It's made for that, but it gives it a little more durability, and it was actually cheaper through the state bid. So, because I did ask Alan about that when it said police interceptor, why we were going with that model. And that was why it's through the state bid. It's the type of vehicle we wanted, a little heavier duty with the police functions. You'll see past that, there was a checklist of all the different police options, and none of those were checked.
Right.
But it's just the base model.
Okay, thank you.
I thought that on this particular vehicle, I thought we had decided we were holding off on this vehicle. Am I incorrect?
Well, we did originally at the beginning of the budget year, because we had 6 or 7 vehicles that were in the budget. We did the 2 for snowplowing, then we were going to hold on the others to see. But like I said, we've recently had some mechanical issues with these 2 and some reliability issues. So after talking to Alan, we decided to come back and make the request to the board, since we do have funding already in the Vehicle Reserve Fund for them. They were high-priority items before.
I think we did discuss as well that if they began to cause a maintenance problem, that we'd escalate it, and it looks like that's what's happened.
How much is in the Vehicle Reserve Fund?
At the beginning of this year, there's approximately $510,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Shouldn't have told Todd that. He's probably smiling now.
That was at the beginning of the year. We already
Oh,
bought 2
okay,
vehicles,
I-
and then these 2.
I know,
so-
two new trucks. He thinks he's in glory heaven here.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, but they're spending it before he can get to it.
Sierra, when we get this, I'd like to see them have this all undercoated, the frame and everything, and the bottom of the transmission. We don't need no more of this rusting out in the frames and the parts. They should be undercoated, all of them. Anytime we pick up a new truck, I think it should be undercoated.
The
Village money.
The vehicle that we're replacing with this Explorer, are we just selling it?
Believe we'll be
Getting whatever we can out
whatever
of
we
it?
can for it with both of the vehicles.
A lot of them are being taken in as trade-ins, aren't they?
Yeah, we've done that sometimes, or we've put them on, eBay or somewhere and tried to just get what we can for them. So we'll do one way or the other. We'll see what works out best.
Okay. Any other comments? Motion?
Combine the two into one vote?
We'll do them individually.
Okay. Then I move,
So who makes a motion on item F?
I move for item F to approve it.
Second?
Trustee Bond, second by trustee Marisak. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Yes?
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes,
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yay.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
That carries 6-0. If there's no discussion, item G, waiver of bid, award a contract to purchase one 2015 GMC Sierra 2500 chassis and truck body.
Go ahead.
I move to approve.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Yes?
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
yes,
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yay.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
That carries 6-0. All right, moving on, items for discussion. The first one I'm very excited about is, honestly I am, is the pension presentation and discussion. With that, I'll ask Director of Finance, Justin Van Voren, to proceed.
Thank you, Village President Brawley. In front of the board tonight is item for small presentation and then any discussion, any questions that the board may have. My understanding is there was a pension presentation done in the past, and with the new members of the board, that we thought it was a timely item to bring up. So in your packet, you have a number of items. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but the village does contribute to two defined benefit pension plans. Defined benefit pension, all that means is there is a specified monthly benefit upon retirement. So it's not how much you're putting in, it's how much you're actually making, and then there's a formula that goes into what you get upon retirement. The benefit levels, employee and employer contributions are governed by the Illinois compiled statutes and can only be amended by the Illinois General Assembly, not by this body at all. The two different pension plans, one is the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, and one is the Montgomery Police Pension Plan. So I'll go through briefly on the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. IMRF is an agent multiple employer pension plan. What that means is there's a third-party agent that takes care of it for us. That is the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund Board. They pool the assets from approximately 3,000 employers across the state of Illinois, and they maintain separate accounts for each individual employer. So we have our own separate account from the city of Aurora, separate from the village of Oswego. They're all separate. This covers all non-sworn employees who work over 1,000 hours. So it's about half-time, 20 hours a week would be covered by this and above. That does exclude part-time sworn employees. That's an important to note here. There are two tiers associated with the IMRF, and Tier 1, Tier 2. The date that makes a difference there is January 1st of 2011. I'm not going to go into the details because it gets very specific very quickly and very hard to understand. So employee contributions, each employee contributes 4.5% of their salary that's covered by this. That is not, you do not have a choice. State law says you're required to contribute that. It covers your salary, plus it covers overtime. The employer contribution, there is an actuary hired by IMRF every year, and that actuary determines the percentage for each separate employer. We're not the same as either one of our neighbors. If we happen to be, that's just per chance, but IMRF actuary determines it separately for everybody. In 2015, our rate is 13.3% of salary plus overtime, and we'll actually go through a table in a couple minutes exactly what that means. For the calendar year ended 2014, the Village of Montgomery covers 114 employees. IMRF covers 114 employees for the Village of Montgomery. That's not just current employees, it's current employees, past employees, retired employees that are already getting a pension. That's everybody that's covered by this plan as of December 31st of 2014. With the police pension plan, it is a single employer pension plan, and it is just that. It is maintained by the Montgomery Police Pension Board. It is a separate legal entity related to the village. It does cover full-time sworn employees only. It does not cover part-time sworn employees. So if you remember from IMRF, part-time sworn employees are not covered by either plan. The police pension plan also has two tiers. The employee contribution, IMRF was 4.5%. On the police pension plan, it is actually 9.91%. So almost 10% of each full-time sworn officer is having almost 10% of their check salary plus guaranteed holidays. So what that means is if a contract, labor contract says that they get paid on a holiday whether they work or not, that means that that is actually added. It's called a compensable benefit. So that is actually added to their salary as being part of their compensation. Thank you. Employer contribution, the village hires an actuary every year rather than IMRF hiring it. In 2014, this was April 30th of 2014, the rate is 21.23% of salary plus guaranteed holidays. So that's 21% that the village is putting in. As of that same date, April 30th of 2014, the Village of Montgomery members is 31. So the police pension plan has 31 people that are covered. That includes current employees, retired employees, employees that might be out on disability or what have you. The last two pages, actually, and these should be in your packets. There's one graph on the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, and there's one graph on the Montgomery Police Pension Fund. There's a lot of numbers here. I'm not going to go over them all. I did want to point out the graphs, what the graphs cover. The graphs cover the employer contribution, which is on the left side of the graph. And so in the numbers at the top, the employer contribution is about halfway over. The number at the top is 15,155, and the number at the bottom is 277,693. On the right-hand side of the graph, in the very far right column, the contribution rate. So on the far right of both of them, that is the percentage that the village is actually contributing. So on behalf of the employee. So in 2014, it was 12.94. I talked earlier, in 2015, it's 13.30. So I wanted to get these as close as we possibly could to each other, the graphs and so forth. So when you look at the police pension fund, which is on the next page, the graphs are identical to each other. They have the same amount on the left side of the graph and the right side of the graph. If you look at the employer contribution, at the top, in 2000, we started out at about $146,000. And at the bottom there, you see the contribution is, as of 4/30/14, is $388,000. And the contribution rate, you see on the far right of both, is in 2014, the 21.23% I talked about earlier. At this time, if there are any questions, I can certainly try to answer those. If there are other details you want me to discuss, I can certainly do that as well.
Real quick, Village of Montgomery members, Police Department is 31. That includes 22 that we have now?
25 plus the retirees.
25, so you only have 6 retirees, basically.
Well, one is disabled.
Okay,
So
yeah.
5 retirees and 1
There's
disabled.
not much there, but in the Village of Montgomery, on the village part of it, we probably have 60-something employees?
Not in the pension fund.
No, I mean, not,
Current
I mean,
employees, yes.
I'm going over on the next page where it's at
I'm right.
114, so we probably have 60-some. So we got
Few less,
double,
we take PD out of it.
we got double that that retired then, is what I'm saying, right?
Well, some of them are just employees who worked here and have creditable time here, but now work somewhere else, or, so they may not be retired. They may have gone on, like, I'm on Naperville's books from when I worked there.
Okay,
So there are some employees like that that worked here and now have gone on to somewhere else. Some of them are retired.
okay.
We currently have approximately 40 employees. Of the approximately 60 employees, 65 full-time employees we have, about 25 of them are police. And so the other roughly 40 are current in the IMRF fund. So we have 40 IMRF and active, and approximately 70, I think that works out right, about 70 that are either have prior service or are retired or what have you.
All right, very good, thank you.
One thing that I like about this, we talk a lot about pensions and how much they cost, and a lot of this stuff goes directly on their tax bill every single year. What's the, so since 2000, both of these have increased, I mean, it's 15 years, but dramatically, more so, it looks like the IMRF one, from 15,000 to 270,000 over 15 years. Is that, I guess, what's the reason for that increase? I know there's a lot more people in there that you know of, or?
Most of that increase, if you look at the contribution rate on the right side, and that's kind of why I wanted to include the contribution rate along with the contributions themselves. If you look at the contribution rate in 2000, it was only 4%. Now it's around 13%. So that's where a majority of the increases come from. Another thing that I want to point out is around the 2007, 2008 timeframe, that's when the economy went, the Great Recession happened, and so there were a lot of losses on both sides, IMRF and the Police Pension Fund. And so you saw the rates actually jump A little bit delayed, but about a year and a half after that, the rate started to jump up a little bit. So that's another factor. We have until we are on course as to what we are supposed to be. Each year, we're contributing what we're supposed to be. We have until 2040 to fully fund these items. So we have another 25 years to fully fund these to where they need to be at, so.
And keep them funded
And keep
at that
them
level.
funded.
But that funded, the contribution rate every year is determined by the state actuary, not anybody else, really. We don't have any
For
control over
IMRF,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
For
And for the police fund, that's determined by the actuary, right?
We hire.
That we hire.
Right.
Correct.
But what I'm trying to get at is, that goes right on our tax bill, and that is a cost that we can't control, that's determined at ebbs and flows every year, just based on investment income and that kind of thing.
It does depend on investments, how well investments do or don't do.
Okay.
We have a young police department, and sooner or later, when all of them get close to retirement, can be a huge amount. If you only have 6 right now, big difference in 20 years, or not even 20 years, but
So we don't contribute anything for part-time police officers?
That's correct. They're, after our new employee manual, they became temporary employees, so no.
When I was looking at this earlier today, the actual value of the assets for the 114 employees is 4.7 million-ish. And for the 31 police, it's 7.5. But police are also putting in 9.5%. So they're putting in twice as much money as the IMRF employees are. So that would help justify that number. And when you mentioned that we were only doing 4% in 2000, but we were 124% funded. We were well over the amount that was required. But I think that was when we started to grow as a village. So it started to skew the numbers.
Any other comments? Okay. If you have any more, you can send them to Justin. Thank you, Justin, I appreciate it. Moving on to our last item for discussion this evening, we have a discussion on amusement devices, and with that, I would turn it over to our attorneys for a summary of this.
Thank you. Excuse me. Deputy Clerk Debbie Buchanan was in the process of renewing our amusement device licenses. That's an annual thing that we go through. And understand, by the way, we're not talking about video gaming, we're talking about amusement devices. The discovery was made that one of the entities wanted to increase the number of licenses that it had from 10 to 11, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but I believe it was 10 to 11. And so they contacted our office to determine whether or not that was allowable or appropriate. I looked back at the ordinance because I had thought in my memory that it wasn't 10, that it was 5. And I went back to the ordinance, and sure enough, it was 5. And so we have several businesses that are actually over the currently allowed number of licenses. There is a provision in the ordinance that says that the village board can increase the number. So I have to presume over the years that at some point, some village board in the past increased the number for particular businesses. However, right now, we're at a place where we really lack a lot of guidance because we don't have records of that. And right now, the ordinance still says 5, but we've got one with 10, we've got others with differing numbers. So we thought we would bring it back to you for a discussion to determine whether or not we should hold them to 5, whether we should go up to 10, whether we should go to 15, what number is appropriate. And the reason that it's really quite appropriate to revisit the question is that back in the day, the reason it was 5 was because there was some legitimate concerns over whether those games were being used for gambling. I mean, that's the reality of it. that isn't a concern anymore. Now, those games are legal, they're just regulated in a different way. So these really are just amusement devices at this point. If you want to gamble, we got plenty of places for you to video gamble now. So the thought is, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to leave it at 5? If we did that, we would actually be costing several businesses as many as 5 licenses. Or do we go up? So that's kind of the discussion.
I was under the impression on the gaming devices, when they came in, that was 5, that they had to take their amusement games out, which a lot of them did. But I also, before the gaming devices came about, I went into one eating establishment, drinking establishment, and the guy had like 7 or 8, and I go, how'd you get so many? And I checked with the ordinance, and they go, his supplier just put in extras, and the guy never said anything. So it was one of those that, and that place is not in business anymore, but he had like 7 or 8, and our ordinance guy went over and knocked it down to 5. So actually, I think these guys, we didn't increase it over 5. I think these guys just kept putting in more and more by the suppliers, and nobody stopped them.
I like that answer. I really do. The only thing that I have to correct is Debbie did indicate that we have issued for at least one business 10 licenses last year. So,
And we have for
Probably a
recent
few years.
And the VFW previously had 14 before they got the video gaming.
all I'm suggesting is maybe some of the concerns over limiting them aren't as strong anymore, since now you can gamble legally with these machines. Not these machines, but if you want to
Yes.
gamble, video game gamble, you can do that.
Right, yeah.
How much is the license?
I don't know unless Dan knows.
It's not very much money. It's a very small amount, but I don't have an exact.
$10
Just
each.
give me,
I would say $10 a piece, something like that.
That's close enough.
yeah, it's not a much.
I'm wondering if there is a need to limit. If the business decides that they want 10 or 12 or 13, I wonder if it matters that much to us. So I guess I'm feeling kind of non-controlling about it.
Does staff have any sort of analysis of what might happen if we didn't put a cap on it? And if somebody wanted to use their real estate in their, the space in their, like Garrio's, let's say, people go there to play and they don't have seats, they took it up all by games. Other than building code, building safety, is there any sort of negative side to that?
I would suggest, and I'd open it to anyone for comment, but I would suggest not anymore. Like I said, in the past, the concern was that you might have some inability to control gambling. That's really moot at this point. With that being gone, I'd suggest the games are fairly harmless.
And is this limited to just games? The amusement portion is what, are we talking about the horse rides used to be in front of Kmart? Is that considered an amusement?
Honestly, I don't know. I would suspect they might, but
It did back in the old days, but I owned a gaming room in '85, and I had a lot more than 14 machines, and it was like Frogger and Pac-Man and all that, and had a million kids in there. But I'd hate to see that, because it was hard to control. There was a lot of problems, and we solved them because we had a policeman there part-time, but that owned part of it. But it's not, I don't know if we have a place around that could have more than, I don't know who would want more than 10. I don't know who's big enough to do 10. Garrio's, VFW, but both of them got gaming license. So that's 5 of them put away, basically. That's the way I look at it, so.
Not legally, but because of the space it eats up.
Yeah, the space just takes up.
In my family, we go to a place in town to play. My only complaint would be the number of games is kind of irrelevant. The kids love it. The kids love to go there and spend some money, and we have a good time. My only complaint is sometimes some of the games are, might be out of order, and that would be, I don't know if that we should get involved in regulating that. I would think the owner would, but whether it's 5, 10, 14, I don't know that I have a preference, or I'd like to put a cap on it. If they can't control it, that's another issue with the PD. If there's a life safety issue or building, from our building department, that's another issue.
What do you think, Rich? I'm just throwing it at you.
Honestly, I don't see a problem in having a business regulate how many of the machines that they have. It's different, I think, for the gaming machines, but for amusements, I don't see it as a community problem.
It's $50 per machine,
Each?
yes.
Wow.
$75 for a pool table and $100 for the video gaming.
Okay. Any other thoughts? I would kind of echo Stan's comment that
I don't see anything wrong with putting the cap maybe on 10 of them, because a lot of these places, they're just bringing revenue in for us too. Don't forget that.
Well, we have one business that wants more than 10 right now.
Well, I would say 10's.
But we permitted 11 last year?
The understanding I have is
Oh, it
we
was 10.
permitted 10.
That's
They
right.
now have 11 and
They
would
have
like
11.
another.
Yeah, that's right. If we're splitting hairs, 10 or 11, what is it?
I'm thinking of, for want of a better example, places like Dave and Buster's that are, gaming is their business. The statute that we have now would seem to discourage that kind of business coming to the village. And I would hate to see that.
Same as pool halls.
Yeah, pool hall, they're able to get 35.
Is a pool hall special use, or is that allowed?
Special use, I think. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the village is adequately protected. We could put an upper limit on it, that's fine. We have a business that currently has 11. Are we going to ask him to take it away, or just put the cap at 11?
I'd put the cap at 11.
Put the cap at 15,
Yeah.
you know, make it a little bit of room for growth, and again, it's
10,
it's a
11,
reasonable number.
15, infinity, 5.
15.
Well, if the guy's already got, if he had 10 and that was our limit and he put an extra one in we didn't know about is 11, if we give him 11, he'll probably have 12. I mean, that,
Well, he wants 12.
you might as well hire.
You know, go to 15, and it at least leaves a little room, and there's no hassle.
Teresa?
I agree with Doug. Let's go to 15 and be done with it.
Yeah, well,
As long as we get our $50 apiece.
You want 15 and a half?
There we go. All right, I think that's very clear direction.
Thank you. We'll prepare an ordinance and bring it back for your attention.
Since we're all here, consent?
Yes.
Yes?
Okay. Perfect. All right, next up, new or unfinished business. Anybody?
Quick question. Last meeting, we had Kane County here regarding Montgomery Road. Are we going to discuss that at some point before we send over comments to them?
I believe we're looking at the 27th to have that discussion, and I believe one of the people from, that did the presentation will be here also.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of along the same lines, the Orchard Prairie North HOA, we said we'd get back to them at some point.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you got to watch the tape of that meeting and then, All right.
Todd's here now, so.
You under the unfinished business right now?
yes.
I'd like to see that empty lot in front of the post office. Whoever cuts that, that's gotta be cut lower than it is. Mike told me told him to come back every 2 weeks, because they just leave, it looks like crap, excuse me. But it does. Makes it look crazy, dumpy around there.
Okay.
We'll add that to the list.
Thanks, Rich.
I imagine the list is getting nice and long with all the rain we've gotten this year. I'm not sure, but
I think the guy needs to get those blades.
You buy off in the 55-gallon drums for the guys now, and they just spray down in a wash station. I went out in my yard the other night, and I quickly ran back into the house for some spray.
I would like to mention about the Montgomery Bridge flowers. Because of the bridge construction following Montgomery Fest, the flowers will need to be removed. And the beautification committee is working with the village on a program that would give them to any resident that would like to take them home with them. I think we are hoping to give preference to the people who donated to the bridge fund to begin with. But keep an eye on the village Facebook and the local media for word about how to collect those flowers and take them home and get some more enjoyment from them.
Awesome.
One quick question, Pete, the two ponds over where the new road is on 30 and Bypass, those two big ponds or three big ponds that are just covered with green everything and mosquitoes all over, those belong to the state? No, right there by Route 31. And that's the biggest mosquito, and you can't even see water. It's all gook. So, all right, as long as it wasn't us.
All right, future meetings, you can see them there. We canceled the Committee of the Whole meeting for July 21st, so our next village board meeting will be 7 o'clock on July 27th, and we canceled the intergovernmental committee meeting that night as well. With that, we'll move into executive session for 3 reasons this evening: to discuss the employment of an employee, discuss minutes of the meetings minutes of the meetings, and then to discuss litigation which is filed and pending. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Heinz. Trustee Youngerman.
Yay.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes?
Trustee Spurling. Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Do we need a motion to go into executive session? All right, I call the meeting back to order, and items for separate action, we have report on closed session minutes. With that, I'll turn it over to our attorney for a summary.
Okay, upon reviewing the executive session minutes for the last 6 months, there are 5 separate categories that we deem appropriate for release at this time. There's 2 from June 8th on 2015, both of which were discussing the employment of an employee. Another one on April 27th, 2015, regarding the employment of an employee. One from February 9th, 2015, regarding the employment of an employee. And a partial release also on January 20th, 2015, which was the last review of the minutes of meetings.
Thank you.
Motion,
Second.
And second by Trustee Youngerman. Way to steal the whole thing from him. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Heinz. Trustee Youngerman. Trustee Marisak.
yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes?
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
And that carries 6-0. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Heinz.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yay.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Thank you. We're adjourned.